Hello everyone, today we will be looking at muscarinic versus adrenergic receptors, and we'll also be talking a little bit about sympathetic and parasympathetic effects on our body. Right, so muscarinic versus adrenergic receptors. What you need to know is that muscarinic receptors receive stimulation from the parasympathetic fibers, while adrenergic receptors receive activation from the sympathetic fibers. So parasympathetic is your rest and digest, and sympathetic is your fight or flight. Right. So when you are stressed or when you are thrilled, you're gonna release adrenaline, and the other one is noradrenaline. Some people are called adrenaline junkies when they really like to do all those extreme sports and things like that. So adrenaline and noradrenaline is the neurotransmitter for your sympathetic nervous system, where your adrenergic receptors are your receptors involved, and also acetylcholine is the neurotransmitter for your parasympathetic nervous system. Right. So how do you remember sympathetic, parasympathetic? One of the ways is to, I've already mentioned this just now, sympathetic is fight or flight, and parasympathetic is rest and digest. You can remember a parachute for parasympathetic. So when you are jumping off the plane, right? That's sympathetic, and then when you um, um, you release the parachute, you'll come down slowly. So you're resting and digesting, so slowly coming down. Okay, that's one way to remember. Right, so what are the effects of sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous activation on your body? So you can actually make this out really logically. We'll be looking at parts of the body which are the pupils, salivation, lungs, heart, gastrointestinal tract, liver, bladder, and your sexual organs. Right. So we'll talk about sympathetic first. So for sympathetic, you imagine that you are being chased by a bear. So your body is excited. You are in fight or flight mode. So what happens to your pupils? So actually, your pupils will dilate because it wants to let more light into the pupils so that you can see better. You can think of it that way. So you dilate your pupils. For sympathetic, dilate your pupils. And for parasympathetic, it does the opposite. It constricts your pupil. Right. And salivation. Salivation is your saliva coming out from your mouth. So when you are being chased by a bear, right, why would you be drooling? You only drool when you're hungry or you want to eat something, right? So this is salivation is actually inhibited by your sympathetic and is promoted by your parasympathetic, which is your rest and digest. So you need your saliva to digest your carbohydrates in your food, right? And how do they affect your lungs? So in sympathetic response, you want to run away, or you want to get more air, more oxygen into your blood so that you can run away as fast as you can. And so your bronchi, your bronchus and bronchioles will actually dilate. So it will cause bronchodilation in your lungs. For sympathetic, it will cause bronchodilation, and for parasympathetic, it will simply be the opposite. So bronchoconstriction of your lungs. Right, what happens to your heart? It is quite easy. So what happens to your heart when you feel nervous or scared that you're gonna die soon? So your heart is obviously going to beat faster. So that's the effect of your sympathetic, increases your heart rate, and for parasympathetic, you will reduce your heart rate. How about the gastrointestinal tract? So as you know, parasympathetic is rest and digest. So your gastrointestinal tract is used for resting and digesting. So actually parasympathetic will stimulate your gastric motility, your peristalsis, your gastric secretions, things like that. And then your sympathetic will do the opposite, so it inhibits this. And how about your liver? This is a little bit difficult unless you know the function of liver in storing glucose, right? So what happens when you are being chased by a bear? And you need a lot of energy to run, right? And energy is stored in the form of glucose in your liver. So sympathetic response will actually stimulate the release of glucose from your liver, while parasympathetic does the opposite. So you're going to store glucose into your liver. And next, moving on to the bladder. So you can also think of this logically by thinking, when you're nervous, how can you go and pee, right? Or when again, the bear scenario, when you're being chased by the bear, would you be in the mood to go and like pee somewhere? One exception is that you're too scared until you wet your pants. I'm not sure why that happens, but usually your bladder function will not be important when you're being chased by a bear. So, oh man, the wetting your pants part is confusing. But anyway, your bladder is useless when you are trying to run away from a bear. So sympathetic actually inhibits your urination, and while parasympathetic actually lets you urinate, right? Okay, sexual organs. For this one, you can't really think of it logically, but all you need to remember is for ejaculation and vaginal contraction is sympathetic stimulation, and erection is parasympathetic stimulation. Right. And that's all I have for you. Thank you.